Powerful Nerdcast assembles!
Stay dandy, baby.
The fires of rebellion will not be extinguished in another super exciting and emotional episode of One Piece. That's right, my friends. A very big event is about to take place in the One Piece anime series, and I really hope that all of you are going to tune in. I have to say that the Wano Arc of One Piece, the anime version in particular, has been sucking me in just a little bit more than the manga version, and that's of course because the anime does go a little slower. It does take its time, and it builds up its characters in a really great way. And I think one of the biggest surprises of this episode is how it actually made me care a little bit more about Tonoyasu, who, in the manga version, I have to be perfectly honest, kind of annoyed me, and a lot of it just had to do with his goofy character design. But since I've been watching the Wano Arc in the anime version, I've become more accustomed to the overall weirdness of everything that is the Wano Arc, and the fact that a lot of the characters in this arc just look really strange and are almost like caricatures of like Japanese people in a sense. And at first it was kind of off-putting, but again, there's something about the anime version that they've been doing in this Wano Arc. Maybe it's just the overall quality of the animation, maybe it's just the way the action scenes look, or maybe it's just the time that they are taking the time to sort of like make these characters seem a little more important than they are in the manga version. I mean, I don't know what it is, but there's some sort of like magic in that old hat that they call the One Piece anime series, and they continue to make it really shine in Wano. That being said, of course, this was a pretty simple episode, as you would expect, with Luffy continuing to battle in the big sumo competition while he's sort of simultaneously being trained by Hyogoro. And is anybody else getting Luke Skywalker and Yoda training vibes from any of this? Maybe it's just the fact that Hyogoro is hanging out on his back. It just kind of gives me those vibes overall. But essentially, Luffy is still struggling with using this brand new form of Haki, which according to Hyogoro in the land of Wano is known as Ryu-O. And this is something that he's going to have to learn himself, and it doesn't look like it's going to be happening anytime soon, as basically Luffy is just so pissed that he can't control his anger, and apparently you can't bring forth this power when you're angry all the time, so he's going to have to learn to calm himself just a little bit. And while all of this is going on, he basically just continues to wipe the floor with everyone that Queen decides to throw at him, to the point where, believe it or not, we actually go to Nightfall, where everybody decides to take a break, much to the anger of Luffy, who is not only super pissed and wants to learn how to use the Ryu-O, but he's also really freaking hungry, because he's Luffy, of course. But this is also an excuse to bring in the character of Raizo yet again, who brings a friend along with him, and he will look familiar. It's none other than Caribou, who has returned, using his special abilities to sneak Raizo in. And while Caribou is definitely sort of like a side character who's meant to basically just be like an annoyance to Luffy and all of his friends, it looks like here he's actually going to be a lot more helpful. And while he is still definitely like a bullshitter of like the highest order, he at least is helpful here in that he was actually able to sneak some food out to them. I love that he brought like that giant vat of red bean soup, which is really great because one, Luffy is starving, Hyogoro never gets to eat, so it was really satisfying to see these characters get a little bit of downtime before we move on to the next part of the story, which is essentially going to be all about the brand new revolution of Wano. And Hyogoro, of course, is revealed to be like one of the greatest Yakuza of the entire country, and he even wants to join them in their efforts to not only take down Kaido, but to free all of these other prisoners that are actually all at these other quarries. Apparently there's like tens of thousands of them, which basically all have it out for Kaido and Orochi because, of course, they were thrown in there because they were there for treason. They went against Kaido and Orochi. So basically it's letting us know that there's going to be a massive force of warriors and samurai who are going to do everything in their power to take down Kaido, and that's pretty freaking awesome. But most of this episode actually followed the character of Tonoyasu, who originally, when he was introduced in both the manga version and the anime, I thought he was basically just going to be your run-of-the-mill, silly side character. But there's clearly a lot more to this character than meets the eye, and there's a couple of revelations about him in this episode, like the fact that, one, he's actually the father of Toko. And this makes perfect sense. Not only do they look similar, but they're constantly laughing like freaking idiots. It makes sense that he would have a daughter that is a lot like him, and we also get to learn that the reason that he's able to feed all these people and help all these people in Ebisu Town is because his daughter is sort of working under Komurasaki, she's making a lot of money, sending it to him, and instead of using it on himself, he helps out the citizens here. Now, this is going to give you your very first clues to tell you what type of character Tonoyasu is, how he's willing to go out of his way to help anyone, just to say nice things to people, to play with the children of the town, to help out the elderly, and to feed the hungry. It's doing such, I think, a better job than the manga version of really displaying who Tonoyasu is and why he's so important, and how he seems to have been a very big player in the Wano Kingdom for a long period of time, even going as far as to knowing who Shinobu and even Kanjuro is, much to their shock as well, and they don't seem to recognize him at all, but I assure you, Tonoyasu is a pretty important freaking character, and we even get to see that towards the very end, he's actually posing as that one thief going around in town, and for what purpose? Well, you're just gonna have to wait and see. I will say that the preview for the next episode does give away some details about what's going to happen to him, but rest assured, things are about to get emotional in a really crazy way. Otherwise, that's most of the episode right there, and I really loved it, I have to admit. So, what's the rundown on this episode of One Piece? I am loving the Wano arc. I know I say that with pretty much every single review, but it's definitely one of those anime arcs that I'm just loving so much more than anything that I've been reading from the manga version, and I think a lot of it simply just has to do with the quality and the energy behind it. I feel like consistently the action scenes have been a lot better in the Wano Kingdom in terms of just the actual quality of all of them, and a lot of that is probably owed to the brand new production team and anime director that is working on the series. I really think that they've breathed a lot of new life into the show, and I hope that they're going to use this as they move forward through the rest of the One Piece anime, because it really deserves it. It's a long time running anime epic, and it deserves this type of attention. And while the series still manages to run really slow, like, you know, not that much happens in an episode. Sometimes they take just a single chapter in the manga and they basically make it into an episode. I still find that it's still really quality in terms of what it's actually trying to do. And this episode, I think, was divided perfectly through the training sequences and all the stuff going on with Tonoyasu. They're doing a great job of actually building him up just a little bit more, which I think is really great. They've made me appreciate his super fun and bubbly personality, the fact that he's just so flattering with everyone in town, whether it's just giving them compliments or legitimately trying to help them out. They're painting him as a really stand-up guy, and I really love that they're making me appreciate him just a lot more in the anime version, because like I said, while he is an important character and figure within this arc, I don't know what it was about the manga version, but I just didn't really care about him all that much. But maybe it's the voice acting, maybe it's the color, maybe it's just the quality of the anime, but it's making me care a lot more. It was a big surprise, too, to see the return of a character like Caribou, a character who, again, seemed like one of those just throwaway type of guys. Like, you know, he was in that arc, he had his time, and we're never going to see him again. For them to actually bring him back here is interesting, and reestablishing that while he is definitely a dick of the highest order, he does have a useful devil fruit power. It's what allowed him and Raizo to actually sneak in here and give them food and help them out. So it is pretty important that he's going to be here. Whether he plays an important role in the rest of the arc remains to be seen, but it was certainly a surprise to actually see the return of his character, and seeing him shocked over the fact that Luffy's just sort of okay with him. As long as you've changed, then everything's cool. We're going to be fine with all of that. Also, just like I said, I can't praise the action scenes enough. I really think that they've been doing a lot better job of just being consistently well animated. It's not like the best things that I've ever seen or anything, but it's all really clean and looks really good, and it's just very eye-catching. I have to give it all of that. That, and even the moments with Hyogoro at the end of the episode when he's talking about the fact that he's so happy that he was able to witness these events, thinking that in his absolute despair he was going to die without knowing the truth about anything that's going on here. It got me excited seeing that old man stand up and get ready for this massive revolution which is about to take place, and the fact that I think he is going to be instrumental in teaching Luffy how to use this brand new form of Haki. Also, there were a lot of great moments with him using the Haki in this episode, like when he wanted to have a quiet conversation with Hyogoro. We've seen him do it a lot of times, but I loved the scene where he just used his Haki to knock everyone out. It had this like really nice visual to it, and it just again establishes how devastatingly powerful Luffy actually is, and how as he continues to get stronger, he's just going to end up being one of the greatest characters in the series. And every time they name drop Gold Roger, like that's a big thing here. Hyogoro mentioning that he did come to this island at some point, of course, that got the attention of Luffy. So there's a lot more that's going to be happening in the Wano arc, so stay tuned for all of that. So yeah, production value-wise, story-wise, I think this was a really solid episode. A little slow in some parts, but otherwise a very quality episode of One Piece, which is why I'm going to drop a 4 out of 5 on this one. I'd love to get your thoughts on the episode if you watched it, so please sound off in the comments section below, telling me what you thought about this episode and what you hope to see from the rest of the Wano Kingdom arc. If you are not subscribed to my channel, please make sure to do so now. If you are subscribed, make sure you're hitting that bell notification icon. It's going to let you know when all my videos are released. If you did like this video, maybe think about giving it a thumbs up. It'd really help these videos out a lot. I also would like to thank all of my patrons who are continuing to make donations through my Patreon page. You guys are awesome. Remember, if you make a first-time donation, I'll review an anime series of your choice, and I would love to add your name to this list of super awesome people who support this channel every day. So thank you guys so much for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay dandy, baby.